it's time to sit back. It's time to relax. It's time to just kind of enjoy life for the next like 45 minutes to an hour. And what you're going to join me on our little trip today, and what we're going to work on, is RO number 69, which is a Texas Star 1200 hot plate. A little bit dirty on the outside. That's okay. We're not scared. A little bit dirty on the back. Obviously got the stock power wires. The tins are starting to rush out a little bit, but it's got aftermarket screws in it. And it's got 4 holes like somebody mounted it to either the bottom side of their kick well, or they had it upside down, they had it screwed to the floor, or they had some kind of bracket system on here. She's dirty. And it being RO number 69, let me start the whole thing with a joke. No, we're not talking about that girl that we all knew back in high school. And when you finally got down there to pull the 69, and ended up smelling like the New Delhi freaking fish market. We're not talking about that. This is a repair order number 69 for the year 2023. I don't know how I skipped over this one. I think I called this and I didn't get an answer, and I called it again, didn't get an answer. That's at least what I got written on the notes. I thought for fun I'd call him yesterday. He answered the phone. He goes, "Oh yeah, BBI, get on it." So, without visiting the New Delhi fish market, we're going to get on to getting this son of a gun done. Let's pop the lid off and let's see what we find on the inside. So I haven't looked inside. Either this is going to be horribly butchered or it's going to be very close to stock. And no, it doesn't smell like fish in here. Just saying. Maybe there was a bucket and a sponge and maybe a little bit of shower with the right kind of nozzle on it. I don't know. But whatever we find on the inside, we're going to repair it and make it like new. Well, that's not bad. Well, that's not bad at all. Okay. I'll show you what I'm laughing at here in a second. I'm just kind of taking this all in for a second. It's got metal clads on the output transformers. The key-in transistor has gotten whacked so hard it was laid all the way over. A couple of the legs are touching here. But let's scoot in here. Let's see what we got to work with. What I'm laughing at is these resistors here. Normally like a 1/4 watt. Those are 1 waters, possibly 2 waters. Well, they did away with this. It's clean. It's virgin. It's virgin. This isn't horribly butchered at all. We ought to get this fixed right up. It's an old one, but it's got legit Toshiba 2290s in it. Obviously, first thing first is we'll rip all this power wire out. We'll take all this out back here. All of this will come apart and we'll overhaul this. We'll put a distribution bus here. We'll bypass the relays. We'll put some 4 gauge coming into the amp. We'll replace this wire with Stinger high strand count oxygen free 12. We'll give it a bath. Boy, that fuse holder is dry. Oh, and there goes the 21. Gentlemen, I'll be back. Sorry about that, I had to take that. Well, let's get this tin out of the way. We'll set it over here out of the way of things. I think we'll be able to rejuvenate this thing and bring it right back to life, no problem whatsoever. It looks like this one transistor's been out, or there's been a problem here. So before I just go and I blindly rip this apart, I want to hook it up and kind of soft key it and make sure all the transistors are turning on. And just kind of take a quick look to make sure everything is in somewhat working order, and maybe all we got to do is a power wire upgrade to it and clean it. We got a quick look on the inside, so when we come back we're going to hook it up and run it, and in the interim I'm going to call the customer and we're going to have another chat, because I just called and I told him, I said, "Are you ready?" He's like, "I'm ready." So Told him I'd give him a call today. So we'll run it real quick as it sits. Then we'll pull the power wire out of it, we'll clean it, and we'll start putting it back together, and we'll change just a few things around if need be. So on that note, let's get to it. Pitter patter, let's get after her. Giggity goo. Okay, so we hooked it up, and both of the LEDs on the front of the amplifier do not turn on, which led me down a quick little, okay, has it got 12 volt to here? It does. So if I get down in here and I touch without arcing anything out, here, I should have LED. I'll turn the sideband delay on. I should have LED now. So what's going on is the wires going to the LEDs have broke off. Is what it is. No big deal. Okay, so amp off. 1,000 watt in peak, 1,000 in average 5 watt silicon reverse. All right, so hello, 1 2 1 2. A little bit of movement. All right, let's go over here and grab this input transformer. 4.7, 4.36, 5.73. We're gonna have to look at that one. 5.8. Oh, see, now I got a little bit of smoke coming off of something. Just caught a little whiff of smoke there. Just seen it. Don't smell it. Just seen it. So I have to see what's getting hot here. Boot the old FLIR. Okay, so our output combiner is getting hot and has bias to this side. These two are lighting, these two are lighting. This one's dead. These two are dead. The smoke's coming now, I can smell it. The smoke's coming off this resistor. So it looks like half the pills are popped, or something's wrong. The bias voltage is too high, number one, and the transistors aren't lighting. So I'm gonna have to pull these 4 transistors out and figure out what's wrong with them. I've got some 2290s left. Of course, the owner wants me to, if I have to replace anything, if it's more than just a couple Toshibas, he wants me to put HGs in here. The 454s, which in my opinion are a great part. Dead. Completely dead. Okay. There's no point in keep keying this. We're making parts get hot we don't need to, and there's somebody out there in YouTube land screaming at their television right now saying I'm being sacrilegious. Okay, but we know what direction we need to head. So, without further ado, let's quit dicking around. Let's get this thing broke down. I just got off the phone with like one of the coolest people. Super nice guy. His name's Mike. And Mike raced with JJ DeBoss and them boys, and might have done some street racing in his time. Just had a great conversation with him on the phone. He was a lot of fun. So I told you, Mike, when you watch this video, I would tell you that, you know, this is testing the transistors because we got them pulled out, and we're getting ready to see how many of these things are popped, if any. The reason I say if any is because the longer I look at this, the more parts I have fall off. That's the input tune capacitor for one of the input transformers. It just fell off. It wasn't even soldered in place. So we'll see. We'll see what we get here. Anyhow, just thought I'd give Mike a shout out real quick. This one's got a gain of 30, so that's not a problem. I don't know, they were dead. Like, they weren't lighting up at all, so we'll see what we get here. This one has a gain of 24, so it means there's something wrong with that portion of the box. We'll go find it here in a minute. I'm sure it's a cold solder joint or something that's come loose again. It's a pretty good indicator when you go and open the amp up and the LEDs aren't working because they've come unsoldered. This one's got a gain of 29. Okay, looking pretty good. So make Mr. T, the owner of this box, pretty happy. Oh shit, that popped off. This has got a gain of 31. So all the transistors are good. It's just we got a problem on this back half. So now we get to clean the transistors up, straighten the tabs out, and we're going to reinstall them because they all tested good. Now we got to go figure out what's gone away. We have a cap that's come unsoldered. We got some wires disconnected. We got a diode that's bad. We don't know, but we do know that we've got 4 good transistors. So the knee bone's connected to the thigh. See, hey, look at this. Not hooked up. Not hooked up. Where'd I pitch that cap at? Here. This cap's not hooked up. This wire come off. Let's check the rest of this. This all's looking okay. Well, so the RF comes in. So the RF comes in, it goes through this decoupling capacitor, runs down this trace, goes by this Arco variable, then it goes to this splitter. So 100% of the RF that gets split evenly between the splitters. So this runs off and it goes over to this splitter here. And then from there the RF gets split evenly and it goes to these 2 amplifiers. Remember, there's only 4 amps up inside this box. So 100% of the output signal that comes from this splitter to go to this splitter, I mean, that would explain why this whole back section is not turning on. And with no reference signal to energize the transistors and say, hey, it's time to turn on and do some work, we're going to see a higher bias voltage. Well, that was easy enough. I mean, really, that was easy enough. Check this, check this, check this. Okay, all this shit's... This is an old Texas Star. And the reason we know that is because in the early 80s, they switched over and they started, or early 90s, somewhere in the late 80s, early 90s, they switched over and they started sticking everything on little tiny phenolic stands, the 3-legged stands. So they have all this stuff soldered down to the board. And it's the same thing on here, and this is also, this choke here is a pretty good indicator of that. But this right here is 100% of our problem. And once again, back-to-back videos. The last video I did was on a Tokyo High Power, an all-band ham amp, and come to find out, problem with it is it had a broken screw. So I had to strip the whole amp down to figure out that it was just the broken screw, because it was demonstrating to me, it was presenting, the problem was presenting itself as being blown transistors. So that poor guy had to wait until we could find replacement and come to find out I had a broken screw. Once again, just spent an hour and a half, almost 2 hours pulling these transistors out, blah, 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 blah. Come to find out, it's a broken wire. And, oh, see, it's... Needless to say, you can almost bet money that most of the joints inside this box, like this is an extra ground that somebody's added, instead of just tightening up the connector, because it's got to have ground reference for this connector to work. They came in here and they soldered this down to the board. The other thing they used to do with the older school Texas Stars like this, which then they eliminated them, is that they made the ground decoupled through a capacitor. So our ground hookups, which is our cabinet, our board, our heatsink, everything passes through these little tiny Zehners, these glass, not Zehners, these little tiny capacitors, okay? What I'll do before this thing leaves here is part of the kind of magic that we do. What's going to carry more amount of current? The heatsink and this little shell frame that the amp sits in, are these little tiny pieces of wire that are kind of soldered here and here and here and here. They're relying on this to carry enough current. We have found that if we simply jump over this screw to the board for trace ground, and we do that here and over here and down here and over here and over here and over here and over here on each one of these, we pick up another 30 or 40 watts, right? Because now the board can get more current from the case of the amplifier, and it can travel a shorter distance more efficiently, right? That's the same thing that happens over here when we do the power wire upgrade. We bring one bigger power wire into the cabinet, and then two, we feed each one of the sections with bigger wire. All of a sudden, the amp's not having to drink through a straw. And what that shows up is the power wire alone allows us to pick up 100, 150 watts. And then when we do the cabinet ground, we upgrade these, we pick up yet another 100, 150 watts. Well, if I see 200 watts worth of output power here, that's 200 watts less worth of heat going into the heatsink that we've got to get rid of, which means we've increased the efficiency of the circuit. The transistor is going to put out the same amount of shmoo. It's just pulling more current, generating more heat to generate the same amount of power. The more efficient that we can make the circuit around the component, because the component's fixed in stone. At 12 volts, we're only going to get so much efficiency out of the entire amp. The part is a limiting factor. It is the brick wall to which nobody can climb over. The only thing we can do is tweak the circuitry to make more power, right? So when people start talking about, well, you know, Dave did it first, blah, blah, blah. Whoever did it first, and I personally think it was Motorola that came up with the solid clad board. Whoever did the first solid clad copper board design, they eliminated all the inefficiencies of the trace network inside the amp, right? And then they started changing the turns ratio and the wrap mix and the capacitance ratio, and they simplified the circuit and made it more efficient. And that's the reason that we'll see out of a 667, we'll see 700 watts, 800 watts, but that exact same set of components, one driving four with a solid copper board, that's why we can see 1200 watts out of the exact same parts, because it changed the efficiency of the circuitry around the transistor, and so now we've optimized the transistor for the way it works. Just saying. So when you guys see me do a power wire upgrade on one of these things, all I'm trying to do is the very peripherals of the thing, which is power wire and ground, optimize those two main things in this amplifier, and guess what? We pick up watts. Without having to change any of the tuning, without having to get super technical with it. It'd be like on your race car. If you've got a stock fuel line that's this big, and then all of a sudden you get in the computer with some click magic, and you turn your car up so it's making 700-800 pounds of the 800 horse of the rear tire, all of a sudden your fuel line, like this big around, is not going to be able to carry enough fuel. So you end up with a fuel line that's like this big. And guess what? Now the motor really takes off, and you got to rechange your entire fuel plot. The motor is still making the same amount of horsepower. It's just not drinking through a straw. It's drinking through a bigger hose, so it can get more fuel. Well, think of the current and the voltage. It's having to travel through a fuel line that's this big, and what it really needs is something that big. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Mike, thanks for the conversation. It was cool to get to hang out with you on the phone. Gentlemen, I'm going to wash. Now that we understand what's going on with the box, we're going to wash it. We're going to blow it off, we're going to clean it, and then we're going to put the transistors back in with new thermal paste underneath them. So we'll clean all the thermal compound that's in here. Before we'll do that, we'll go back and we'll smooth all these traces out. So we'll lay down new thermal compound, lay the transistors down, bolt them in, solder them back in, and get this whole thing put back together. And when we return, this thing will be all washed up. It'll look as shiny as a pretty brand new penny on the inside of this thing, and we'll put some power wire in it, and we'll be done. One wire, One cap. 2 burnt resistors because of one wire. So I'm just sitting here minding my own business, and I got the whole back end of this thing put back together over here. And I go to grab this harmonic suppressor, and I can't help but notice what is attached to that harmonic suppressor. That is a Zener diode. I can understand how the two components can get confused. This is a glass vacuum capacitor. This is a Zener. They're both made with clear glass, but they don't work anywhere near the same. I guess in theory, this diode would hold back all the tremendous current that is desiring to flow through the resistors and into the capacitor circuit, or into the transformer, and wipe out the transformer. The transistors. A Zener. Somebody put a Zener in here. And then I go to put this last set of flybacks in. This is the kind of solder work that's starting to cause me to have headaches. It's like a fishing lure almost. Yeah, that is fully soldered, by the way. Just the joint is completely broken. So it means a lot of the joints inside this box, I gotta go back and retouch them with a soldering iron because I don't trust them. I mean, like, who's to say it works fine here on my workbench, and then I put it in the mail and it gets bounced around a little bit, and by the time it gets to the other end of the circus, it gets delivered, the guy goes to plug it in, it doesn't work right. That's cute though. I swear, this looks like the guy just robbed it off his workbench and just it was just hanging on by a thread. The wrong part in the wrong place. Okay. Back to work. Just had to share that with you. I thought you guys would find it interesting. This cap too, it broke off, by the way. Do do do. Do do do. Do do do. The cap's good. That cap is good. Cap is really good. That cap is good. I am not taking anything for granted with this little guy anymore. Just not. Many hours later, I called a customer today. I said, brother, did you put this amplifier inside of a paint shaker? And he goes, no. He goes, I used to drive cab over truck and I had it sitting on the floor of the cab over. Tin down, heat sink up, which is the way you'd want to have it sitting. And I'm like, well, brother, that explains a lot. So after lots of cleaning and a lot of resoldering, we've completely revamped this box, put it back together, and everything is spotless and working just the way it should now. Gave it a little bit of a power wire upgrade, gave him the Anderson clip to which he wanted. What amazed me was the face of this amp. After a lot of cleaning and just a little bit of love with a little bit of spray on wax, the whole face of this thing looks like brand friggin' new. Now, I took about an hour last night and I cleaned out the heat sink And I mean, I cleaned and cleaned and cleaned and cleaned and cleaned and cleaned and got all the filth out of between all the fins. And it's now spotless. So, short of getting out about 5 gallons of liquid aluminum cold blue and re-bluing all the fins, you want your heat sink to be clean, right? Best transfer heat to the atmosphere you can get. Now, I haven't played with the input tune. All I know is I put power to it, but this is the main thing. We now have on indicator and we got sideband indicator. The leads for the LEDs literally got shook clean off the amplifier. So, let me get a flat blade screwdriver, because I have a feeling we're going to have to adjust that input tune just a little bit. That'll work. Okay. So let's start over here. We've got our 1000 watt slug and peak, 1000 in average, 5 watt slug and reverse back from the Bird 10,000 watt dummy load. We're on 14.9, 15 volts. See, 15.0. We are going to hit it with the Derail Striker 955, which is about 125 watts. Hello, 1, 2. Why I got you all here. Let's look at our pass-through tune. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello. It's beautiful. All that means is the RF's ability to go in, pass through the relay and come out. Titties. Okay. So let's pop the amp on now. Hello. Hello, 1, 2. Oh boy. So we're making 1200 peak because we're on the stop peg. Here's the problem. Hello, 1, 2. Okay. So I'll go in here. Hello. 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 See if we can get any lower than that. Hello. About 3 bars. Okay. What we're adjusting is this tuner right here. Oh yeah. So we'll go to 2x on the meter, and as you guys know, the 40 right here, reading this bottom scale, all the way over here to the right is 2000 watts. Right there is 1000, 12, 14, 16. Hello. Hello. Only 1350 and some change. We go in here and adjust. Hello. Hello. Hello, 1, 2. Hello, 1, 2. It's about 500 average. Yep, just a hair over 13. Let's jump over to sideband. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So about 1,000 bird. However you guys want to call it, peak, average, I don't care. That's not a debate I'm interested in getting involved in anymore. I've said my piece about that in many YouTube videos. This thing is running like a champ. So, let's see. Our combiner is ice cold. Our input combiners are cold, our output combiners are cold. Looks good. So my friend over at Beard Amplifiers called and talked to him today, and he says he's ready to start making tins for all of us. but he needs one to copy exactly. He didn't have a spare. I've got this old beat up tin that I'm going to send him for him to copy from. He's already got 250 and 350 and 667 lids done. Now he's copying these lids down to the metal, the interior coating, and then the exterior kind of pleather finish. Now, I don't know if you guys remember how nasty this tin was when it came up here, but I washed it, then I scrubbed it, then I cleaned it. I got most of the rust off of it. That's the best I can offer. I cannot, one, I don't have the tooling, two, I don't have the time, three, I don't have the energy to do it. My friend over at Beard Amplifiers does. Frank over there is getting ready to have his last day at his full-time job, and he is going to come over here and come play radio full-time with all of us. And I've been trying to pump him up as much as I can and get him going. And one of the products, I said, hey man, you know, you're a tool maker. You should make a punch kit to punch down tins for Texas Star amps. There are no replacements in the market. So first he showed up and he made aftermarket tins for his projects and that kind of thing. He's finally getting ready to punch down tins for all of us. So we got him in contact with the guys at A1, at CB Distributing, all the major players in the game. And I said, dude, if you could make a carbon, like legit, photo, realistic, 100% copy of this, we're going to sell these like crazy, because everybody that's in the amp repair game, me, everybody, we don't want to mess with the tins, but we need to replace them, because every single one of these that comes in here, the tin is just a giant pile of dicks, right? We're like this close to be able to have that available for us. Look, there's 1 million Texas Stars that are in the market. 1 million billion of them, right? There are no more replacement parts. So there could be a whole industry out there that could pop up. And I mean, like, if somebody wanted to 3D print the little faceplate buttons for the 667s, 350s, and all, there's a huge market for that. You want to figure out how to put the LEDs and the little holders and all that stuff, there's a market for that too. But we never know. Every time we turn around, Galaxy's for sale, Galaxy owes $1 million here, somebody's buying right now there's a rumor so-and-so's buying so-and-so, and the other owner is so-and-so, and the cousin, aunt, nephew, whatever is. Look, I can only work with what I've got at my fingertips, right? So the word on the street is there's supposedly another buyer for Texas Star that's in the Texas Star wheelhouse family already, knows all the parts, the players, the locations, and all that. That means all I know is we can't get parts to maintain their products out here in the world. And there's a billion of these things out there running around. I need to find a company that's willing to set themselves up and start creating faceplates. 350, 250, Black Widow, Killer Bee, 667, 400, 500, Sweet 16, 1200. Nice little side job just printing off faceplates. I'm telling you, they got to be metal backed, and this is not a direct vinyl sticker. This is a metal based backed vinyl faceplate. So the vinyl is printed on something metal that then is attached to a piece of aluminum. You'd have to copy it to the T. It can't just be a sticker that somebody can buy and slap on the front of their faceplate. It's got to be a legit replacement faceplate. Same thing with the tins. We can't just take a piece of metal and punch it down. It's got to be exactly the same. Otherwise, the market share falls out. Well, Mr. T, we're done. Every single thing that has anything to do with anything around each one of these two very valuable transistors per board, I've gone back and retouched the solder on all of it, because as we found out, this thing was inside of a paint shaker. Gentlemen, let's give thanks to the Patreons for allowing us to have this almost full hour worth of content without having any ads. I want to say thank you for that. Thank you to these people here. These kind of lovely people here. We will have a new spoken word video that will be coming out this Sunday. We're going to do Godfather around the ATL. The OG Godfather, one of them. Yeah, that's all I got for news. I think the next thing up is a Fat Boy 2-pill and a Texas Star of some kind. At the end of the day, the Thailandese fish market, the OG original RO69, is done and ready to come home. I am shooting to be taking on work in October of this year for 2025. I do believe I have enough work to carry me through to the end of this year. Not from 2023. 2023 is about wrapped up. I'm in the mid 70s and I only took 80 repairs. So I've got like 5 more left of the 2023 repairs. I'm going to jump directly into the 2024. I only took 20 of them. That should carry me to the end of the year. So we will be taking on new work coming out in just the next few months. Keep your ears to the ground for that. Thank you, XS. Thank you, Siglet. Thank you, McMahon. Penta is running a promotion. Penna tubes. We're all familiar with Penna tubes. If you buy tubes from Penna, when you go to checkout, there should be a window there. It says promo code, punch in BBI, save yourself 5%. If you end up calling Penta to place your order, you're going to ask for Scott. Tell Scott BBI sent you. He'll knock 5% off your total cost. I know it doesn't sound like a lot. Still, a penny saved is a penny earned. So, going to put that on the table. You guys need anything, any questions, comments, anything I can do to help you? I'm one of the few people that was brave enough to initially put their number on YouTube. That is the number. It comes directly to my phone. If I do not answer, that means I'm doing something else. If you can leave me a message, it fills up every day. I've only got lots for 20 voicemails. It fills every day. I delete everything first thing in the morning. I don't leave the messages. I just call people, return the calls in the order that they're received. Just saying. I'll call you back. If not, call the next day. Closed on the weekends and don't return any calls after hours. On that note, gentlemen, I'll see you. I appreciate every single one of you. Honestly, thank you guys. Thank you for clicking the thumbs up. Thank you for clicking the subscribe. Thank you for being here and following along with my shitty shenanigans. Thank you.